has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast. It's Ferrall on the bench, coast to coast, in the biggest way possible. Hanging out the bad seat, the broken day, the bad apple with a bad attitude. We are live in New York City, the Big Apple. Ooh. People dressed in plastic bags to rent a Travis, some kind of fashion shake it up should be along with the Tutty and Tater King himself. Carver High this afternoon, ladies. Mafia running it with Luke. I am your father. The rundown. We got a double shot with Morency, per usual, from Vancouver in the first hour. Second hour, Prime Minister Cam Stewart live from Toronto, Ontario. Great spot up there. In the final hour, Coach James Young, our basketball analyst and guru of choice on LID. So we'll talk to all those guys today. Carver High, the first college football playoff rankings have been released. And I think the Hoosiers are going to have to, according to those that know more than us, would have to go to Knoxville to play at Neyland Stadium against the Vols. But at least we were right about one thing. It looks like Penn State and Notre Dame they have squared up.
Yeah, happy Wednesday here, a midweeker on Coast to Coast. Great to have you with us here today. And yes, that is where we'll start today, is with this college football playoff. Me and you always say the AP poll's nonsense. Who cares about what all those people put out all year? This is what really matters when you get to this point. But we do still have 4 weeks to play. I think it's fun for us because we can sit here and talk about these matchups, but they're probably going to look different when we get to the end. Oregon, Georgia, Miami, and BYU with the byes. Now, they had BYU, Scotty, ranked 9th in the poll, but because they would be one of the conference champions as of now, they slide up into that top 4 in a bye, and Ohio State slides back to the number 5 seed, where according to the poll last night, they would play Boise State in the first round at the Horseshoe in Columbus. You mentioned Indiana would go to Tennessee in the 8-9 game. You would have Alabama visiting Texas, so 2 SEC teams there. And the Notre Dame Penn State, which we discussed the other day, and it is spicy if it happens. And I do feel like that's one that's going to kind of follow us along here over the next few weeks, because I also don't think either of those teams are going to lose another game and probably finish 11-1. So I think it's fun to talk about, even though there's a good chance we don't get any of these matchups when it really comes to the end.
So off the top of your head, do you know who, like Miami's one of the 4 teams that gets a bye, right? Like
that's, yes, assuming that they win the ACC. You know, they're there right now. Yeah, they're undefeated.
So let's say right now they think they will. So right now, who would they play? The winner of what?
Alabama and Texas. In this poll, in this version of the poll, they would play the winner of Alabama and Texas in the second round.
I mean, let's get real here for a second. Both of those teams could beat Miami on a given day. You know, depending on mistakes. Like you make enough of them, you're going to lose. You throw that pick with 5 minutes to go in a game, you're going to lose. The mistake late is the one that kills teams and cuts their heads off. So I think any team, you'll see this first year will be crazy and the games will be decided by mistakes. I think, in the end, teams that you think are going to win won't win. They'll lose because they'll make a mistake, and that'll be that. It's not going to be like, isn't it like the NCAA basketball tournament, right? Like you think until you find out real quick how little you know. You think you got it all figured out until they play these games, and then all hell breaks loose. I think the 12-team playoff format will lead to all hell breaks loose, without a doubt. I don't think you can predict any game. Obviously, everybody around here is going to predict every game and think they have all the answers. I know this. I know nothing, and it's going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be fun to watch. And the other interesting note was 4 SEC teams 4 Big Ten teams, only one team from each of the other conferences, one ACC, one Big 12, obviously an independent, a group of 5 to finish out the poll.
Mike, honestly, now listen, there are 4 teams in the top 25 in the ACC. And
5.
They're going to let one of them
5 teams.
I mean, that's some bullshit, honestly.
Well, I think that's where we kind of wonder, and I brought this up to you yesterday, how much will they penalize Indiana, if they finish 11-1 and they're on, the loss to, if they lose to Ohio State, would they be a team that slips out for one of those other ACC teams?
Now listen, I would argue that Penn State getting their ass beat at home by Ohio State is enough. If Indiana gives Ohio State a game in Columbus, it should be predicated on that, not on Penn State's playing Notre Dame already and it's locked in. Penn State got humiliated. They couldn't score a touchdown. If Indiana goes and scores 40 points against Ohio State in Columbus, and that game is, let's say 56-46, and Indiana gives them a game, Indiana should be in and Penn State should be out, and they should let 3 Big Ten teams in, and that's all there is to it. There is no reason in the world to let that hack-ass Franklin be in this playoff when all he does is lose to ranked teams and to good teams. So you know who I'm rooting for in that Penn State-Notre Dame game.
Well, look, and I'll just say this. I'm actually kind of surprised that they had Penn State as high as they did. I thought that I really think they could have flipped, at least in this first one, Penn State and Indiana. I think Penn State could have been the 9 and Indiana been the 7 just because they're undefeated and Penn State's got a loss. I think that's something
So what's different? Penn State plays nobody, and then they finally play someone good and lose, or Indiana who plays nobody at all, but they score 46.5 points a week, and they give up nothing defensively. That's what the guy said from Michigan, the head of the Crack, Crab, and Lobster Committee said they are great on both sides of the ball, second highest scoring team in the nation, and they're top 10 in defense in the country. They have I think they have the number 1 against the run defense in the country. They're better than Penn State. They're better.
And remember this too with 4 weeks to go. There are teams on the outside looking in that are going to have opportunities to get themselves into that 12. SMU and Texas A&M are the first 2 teams out. SMU will have an opportunity to play Miami and get themselves into that spot. Texas A&M might be in the SEC title game with a chance to play Georgia and get themselves in. LSU's playing Alabama this week. If LSU beats Alabama, I would think they're going to flip, right? They're going to jump LSU up into that Alabama spot, and Alabama's going to go fall through. Ole Miss is playing Georgia this week. If Ole Miss ever beat Georgia, they're 16. They'd probably jolt up into the top 12. So there's a lot to do.
Loss is bad for the Aggies against South Carolina because they lost by 24 points.
Yeah, that's a very bad loss.
Notre Dame.
And they lost to Notre Dame. They would have to win.
How many times do they get to lose and still be in it? I mean, that's some bullshit too.
I think their schedule and only having 1 loss in the conference is probably going to get them in the title game, and they're going to have a chance. But will they beat Georgia in Atlanta? Will they beat Texas in Atlanta? They're going to play Texas, actually. That could be a 3rd loss for them. They're going to play Texas Thanksgiving weekend. So that could be 3 losses for the Aggies.
They're going to lose again. They lost to South Carolina.
That's very true. We got a lot to do today. We're just getting going.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Are you okay with him moving to the head of the class of the Heisman with those 2 games? Because he wasn't even in the discussion before those 2 games.
This is a big opportunity for Dylan if he wants to continue to make his case for the Heisman Trophy, and I think he's shown that. You know, I mean, what is he, a 6th-year player who's going to probably end up setting most of the passing marks because he's been around for so long? So why not also throw a Heisman Trophy in the mix?
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Here.
All right, we might as well tell you Sports Rage 10 East, 7 West, but we get Morenzi every day on Coast to Coast, and he had a lot of betting going on last night with politics. People want to know what happened because it didn't go well for Kamala.
I went 2-4. I was hoping, Scott, like literally, it's one of these sort of, it's like betting on the WWE. It's like betting on WrestleMania. You sort of hope for the best, right? You know, you bet on something, entertainment purposes, so to speak. I bet 6 states. I was hoping to kind of go like 4-2, 3-3, and I would have been okay with it. I ended up going 2-4. I got punched in the mouth. The blue wall crumbled, Scott, just like the Michigan Wolverines blue wall this year. And I thought about it after. I'm like, damn, man, Michigan's costing me a lot of money this year between the state of Michigan and the Michigan Wolverines. And we get the Indiana Hoosiers this week. And what's the number, Scott? I heard Reese Davis bring it up. Is it like 6-50 or something? Like Michigan, like never lose to Indiana type of deal. But Michigan also have done a lot of things they usually don't do this year. Big game down there this weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot more on the line for Indiana than Michigan. Michigan's season's already over. They're finished. And so Indiana could screw everything up if they don't beat Michigan. They need to beat Michigan like they needed to beat Michigan State so that they can go play at Ohio State on the 23rd and show what they're made of. Because we just discussed it. Penn State, they think, is in, and they got their ass beat by Ohio State. And frankly, I don't think they deserve to be in the way they couldn't score in the game. And then they've never played anybody else. They said Indiana doesn't play anybody else, but Indiana leads the nation. He's second in scoring and top defensive against the run in the nation. Indiana's legit. I think Penn State's phonies. And we know they never beat ranked teams anywhere.
I personally think Indiana are better than Penn State. I do. But let's be real. The 12-team college football playoff was created for Penn State. You know what I mean? It was created for the Penn States. It was created for the Ole Misses, the LSUs of the world, teams that are just sort of like right on the outside looking in. And it's kind of frustrating, actually. You know, I personally also, Scott, I think that Ohio State are like they get too much credit. They're overrated. Okay,
They're favored
listen,
to
like
win it
Miami.
all. They're favored to win
Like,
it all.
look, I know. Dude, I don't even know why we bother playing the game, Scott, because they lose and they drop 2 spots in the poll. Somebody else loses, they drop 10 spots.
Yeah.
Like, if Indiana lose, it'll be bye-bye. All right, that was a cute story. Yeah, you're ranked 16th now.
You're
Ohio
right.
State loses again, Scott. Well, you know what? Let's make them 4th now because, they're like the San Francisco 49ers, Ohio State. People always say, oh, well, they're the team to beat. Since when?
Yeah.
They haven't won. Like you always say, they don't win. So when's the last time they won? When Maurice Clarett was drunk on the field with them?
They lose now in Super Bowls.
When did they win a title?
They lose
Yeah, no,
Super
but it's like the Niners don't win. It's like, all right, yeah, they did win. When's the last time the Niners won? When Steve Young was there. And we hang on to this. Same with Ohio State. Oh, they lost. Yeah, but Ohio State is really the best team, of course. Like, it's like, what do we even play the games for Ohio State for? Like, and I get it. Miami, there's some of their style points, and you can argue about the schedule and stuff, but Ohio State haven't played anybody. Ohio State played one good team. They played Oregon, and they lost. All right? They nearly lost to Nebraska. Like, to me, what are we playing the games for? Miami should be ranked ahead of them. BYU's getting screwed. Indiana is getting screwed. Indiana are killing teams.
BYU's not getting screwed. They moved BYU up to the 4 slot because they're on top of the Big 12. They don't deserve a 4 slot.
That's by default. They're really the 9th, right? They were ranked 9th, but they get bounced. Yeah, they're really 9th.
Well,
so they
that's
get
some
bounced.
bullshit.
They get bounced to 4th. Well, I'm not sure BYU will be the ones there, Scott. I'm going to throw this out here right now. And you as a Miami Hurricane fan, and I don't know if anyone's brought this up yet, but I brought it up a little bit on SportsGrid last night. And I just said, dude, can you imagine? It's kind of flying under the radar, Scott. Colorado Buffaloes, bro. They're ranked 20th, okay? They only have one conference loss. They lost one conference game. Like, they can get to the conference championship game, bro, and get to the playoffs. Now, they got to run the table to do this. Their schedule, right? Texas Tech, Utah. It's manageable, man. Like, Colorado can pull this off. And I'm just saying, Scott, you imagine you get a Colorado BYU conference championship game with a spot on the playoffs on the line. And I'm just speaking out loud. I'd like nothing better. Deion Sanders and the Buffaloes versus the Miami Hurricanes in a playoff game. Imagine that. Imagine the swag and the bling of Deion and the Buffs versus the Canes.
I think it'd be awesome. I said earlier that, Miami's lying in the weeds and they would play that Texas Bama winner. They could lose to either one of those teams.
Well, pretty much anybody could lose to anybody in the playoff for the most part. Yeah, I mean, I would say even Oregon, even though the Ducks are technically the number 1 team, I would say kind of the only team that you would say, you know what, they'll be favorites, like Georgia, right? Georgia can match up with anybody. I don't think Georgia fear anybody. But like you talk, go through the playoff teams. Listen, Boise State, they're good, right? They're punching over their body weight. So Boise State would be it. Notre Dame ain't going nowhere. So you notice how they would have Notre Dame play Penn State, the battle of losers, Scott. So one of them can get a little moral victory. Marcus Freeman or James Franklin wins the game.
Why don't you think Notre Dame's a pushover?
I don't think they're in the same category as the top elite teams now. They lost to Northern Illinois, bro.
I know,
but lost to a MAC team.
But they pretty much
who
whacked everyone else.
Who have they play?
Well, all of these teams, you could say, who have they played? Indiana hasn't played anybody.
No, and I don't. And I like Marcus
anybody.
Freeman. I like Marcus Freeman, and I brought it up. I said it earlier in the year after they lost to Northern Illinois when everyone buried them. I said they're not done. They're not going to lose again. Their schedule is a cream. You know what I mean? What's their big game? Like, what are their big games? Seriously, Army, Navy, USC. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have, like, you know what I mean? And it's not a critical thing of Notre Dame. Notre Dame will play teams. I'm not saying Notre Dame are scared.
They went to Kyle Field and beat A&M.
It's just, that's their win, right? That was the game, and they won the game. You know what I mean? But I don't put, I don't think anybody thinks Notre Dame is as good as Georgia is or as good as the Ducks are.
Oh, I don't either, but I don't think they're, I guess if it ends up being Notre Dame Penn State, it's
they're
perfect
playoff
matchup.
worthy.
I think they're very on equal footing, those two teams.
Yeah, I'm not. Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So, look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have a Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions. Once again, his third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got into the end of the season. 17.9, 10.9 last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from 3.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Talking to Morency like we do every day on Coast to Coast on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. So, I don't have a problem either. I don't think Notre Dame shouldn't be in it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. Exactly. I don't want to come across. I'm not saying, they don't deserve to be in there. All I said is their schedule coming into the year lined up for this. Like, it's, you know what I mean? They're doing what they're supposed to do. Great win against A&M, but they're doing what they're supposed to do. You got to take advantage of these schedules. There's no excuses, like, for Michigan, but look at Michigan's schedule, bro. And there's no excuses. But, dude, they play Texas. They played Oregon. They're playing Ohio State. They're going to Indiana. They went to the Washington Huskies on a Saturday night in Seattle. Like, so, yeah, Notre Dame went to College Station on a Saturday night once. Okay, good for you. Like, some of these teams are doing this every week where it's like, oh, God, we have another. Are you kidding me? We got to play these guys now? Some of these
you knew Michigan
schedules
was going to have problems when they had really quarterback issues. They had some serious quarterback issues, and I think it killed their season and their schedule. And you and I had this conversation about I said, well, they lost so many guys to the NFL, and you're like, they still have a bunch of guys going to the NFL on this team, but then a couple of them got hurt. And now they're worthless without a quarterback and without your best players.
Exactly. You're right. Like, Loveland got hurt early in the year. He's back now, but it was like, all right, we just lost our best offensive player.
The quarterback got injured.
Will Johnson's been hurt.
Yeah.
The safety's been out all year, dude. It's been one of these. But just quickly, as I brought up Georgia, Scott, how about this for a number? Georgia are 48-0 against non-Alabama teams in the last 4 seasons. Like, besides Alabama, Georgia haven't lost, bro, in like 4 years now. They lost to the Florida Gators, actually, of all teams.
They're very dangerous.
In like 2020. Like, they only lose to Alabama, Georgia.
Yeah,
like, other like guys, you think about it, they don't lose to anyone. So they're super dangerous. Like you said, this is a big picture. The Ducks are the real deal. But you know this, and you talked about it earlier. Carver brought it up. The fact of the matter is, the first rankings are never the last rankings.
I think Georgia would punk Ohio State. I think they'd punk them. I think that kid Beck would go off, and I think Howard would have his head taken off by Georgia in a game.
I think it would be – I would take Georgia. I think it would be kind of close, but But like I said, these teams still play each other. Like a lot of stuff is still going to happen. There's going to be a shakeup. So it's fun to see and go, oh my God, all right, this is what it is right now. But there's still a lot of big football games left to be played. And these rankings won't be the final rankings when it's all said and done.
Who do you think's going to win Thursday night between the Bengals and the Ravens? And do you think that Joe Burrow has a point in the fact that, they're talking about him sulking and being miserable with the Bengals because the Bengals, besides Chase Brown, really have nothing else? That Brown doesn't pay anybody.
No, you know what, Scott? In fact, if we check the tape after the Bengals were totally sort of early done in the year and everybody was saying, oh, they're done, I said they're not done because of their schedule. Once again, back to the schedule. If you looked at the schedule, the Bengals were able to rack up wins. Now, they blew the Cincinnati game, the Philadelphia game. The Eagles went in there and beat them down. Give credit to the Eagles. But other than that, they've won, they're on the warpath. Like, they win this game, they're a 500 team again. And everybody, they're 1-4.
I think they have a shot.
Yeah, I think they got a legit shot to win this game. And Burrow lit it up last week, but he wasn't happy after in the room, and he told people. He said, whatever, man, we beat the Raiders. We got the Ravens this week. And we know what happened last time. They blew a 10-point lead in the last 6 minutes. Like, he's still bothered by this, Burrow. Like, Burrow's one of these guys, man. Like, he doesn't like losing.
He's a winner.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, it bothers him for real. It's not just, we lost, I'm going to, whatever, ha, ha, ha.
Do you think he's unhappy in Cincinnati?
He sulks about it. He goes home. He's in a bad mood in practice after. They're like, God, Joe's not happy this week.
Do you think he's unhappy?
He told them after the game.
Do you think he's unhappy?
No. Why would he be unhappy?
Well, because they kind of suck besides him and Brown or, Chase.
No, he's the leader of that football team. I mean, they've had injuries. It is what it is. I don't think he's unhappy. He's unhappy. You know what he's unhappy about, Scott? That he's 4-5. That's what he's unhappy about. He's unhappy he's 4-5. Massive game for them. My gut tells me, though, that Baltimore will win the game, Scott, but Cincinnati will cover. It'll be another close one, like almost a rematch.
Who do you like tonight in the two college action games?
I'm going against Northern Illinois. Ever since that Notre Dame win, that was kind of the peak of their year, actually. So give me Western Michigan plus 1.5 tonight.
There you go.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions. Once again, his third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10.9 last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from three.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
So, Carver High, we're talking about the Bengals and Ravens, and we'll go right to that with the two of us now. So I think it's going to be a really good game tomorrow night.
I think it's going to be a really good game, too. Anytime that I can see a total in the 50s, I'm expecting that we're going to get a fun game and not some of these sleepy primetime games that we sometimes get. Anything's better than that Colts-Viking game on Sunday night. So if anybody can just pass that, the bar is set pretty low, that's for sure. But big division game, you were talking about Burrow being unhappy. I think he just wants to win. I think that's what it all comes down to. The problem for him this week is Lamar Jackson's on the other side. Here's Lamar talking about the matchup with Cincinnati.
The same. Any other game, just be prepared to just go in there. And it's going to be a dogfight. It's a divisional game as well. And we already know we just got to score points. That's our job, and that's been the conversation all season long. We have to score points.
So listen, what I'm talking about, a couple things here. What I'm talking about is that they have so much invested in him, and they have so much with Jamar Chase, which he never got that deal done. So, and T. Higgins is out of there. So he's got to be miserable that they never gave him the money, and then they tagged him. Every guy that ever gets tagged is miserable. That's just all there is to it. They're handcuffed. So my point is, it's not that he's going anywhere because he's a kid from Lima, Ohio. He loves Ohio. I think he likes being there. I think what he doesn't like is that, and I said this before, Mike Brown is an old codger who doesn't spend money. I mean, he does for the main superstar player and maybe one other, which is really the epitome of what I'm talking about. He never gave Chase the money yet. He's like, well, we'll get around to it when we have to. But, we gave all the money to this squad. We're giving no one else. They literally have no one on the team besides these two players. They really don't. That's happy with what they're earning. They have a bunch of guys that are miserable with what they make. My point is that I think that's why he's miserable, that he realizes he plays for an owner. Now, remember, the Rooneys are, famously cheap. They give you market value. They don't care who you are. They draft you. That's why every draft pick that they ever had leaves. They all leave when they get a chance to because the Rooneys don't pay. Let's face facts. They don't. They got Russell Wilson on the cheap, Justin Fields on the cheap. I guarantee you Mike Williams on the cheap. They don't pay anyone. Pickens got what he was worth. So my point is, players want to play for owners that pay them lots of money and on teams that win. And the Bengals, let's face facts, they're fair to Midland. It's not like they win all the time. When they went to the Super Bowl, they lost. They blew it. And ever since then, I think they've gotten worse, Mike. And I think that's why he's, quote unquote, sulking. I don't think he's happy with the way Mike Brown runs this team.
Well, look, I think that they will eventually give Jamar Chase his money. T. Higgins, he's going to get paid. But the problem is, and this is a problem for a lot of NFL teams, your window is only so big when you're not paying your superstar players the big money, including your quarterback. The year they went to the Super Bowl, the year they lost to the Chiefs in the AFC title game, that window where they were so close for those 2 or 3 years, Burrow was making no money, Chase was making no money. Everybody, and you're able to supplement with other pieces around the team because your big stars aren't ready to be paid yet. When you pay those big stars, if you haven't won yet, you better start drafting good because you need to put cheap talent around those now huge money superstars, or else it's like a house of cards. It all just comes down. It's what the Bills have tried to do now with Allen. The Bills have tried to rework now with Allen. That's what this year was about. They had to get rid of all those big stars and big numbers, and they have to draft well and put around. The Chiefs, why are they so good? Because they draft so well, and they constantly have a pipeline of good talent that they could put around Mahomes and Kelsey and Chris Jones. And that's why they're able to keep winning every single year. And the Bengals, let's just say it, I don't think the last 2 years, I mean, they've drafted great. And I think that that's also part of where you get to this step where now the rest of the team doesn't look so hot around your superstar quarterback. And there's a lot of teams it happens to.
That's how the Patriots won all those Super Bowls. I think that Belichick was a master of finding guys that know how to play and know how to do their specific job, their role with perfection almost. And every guy has a job to do, and they go hire those types of players. And they know how much they're worth at a high end and at a low end. And that's why they found those guys. And really, in my view, that's what Kansas City's mirrored. They've mirrored that. I mean, look what they got now. They got DeAndre Hopkins catching 2 touchdowns a week. And I even heard today when they get Pacheco back, they got Hunt, who was crippled and left for dead. Hunt had a $106 and the game-winning touchdown the other night. And then you're going to have Hunt and Pacheco in your backfield. Both of them can kill you, one from inside the 5 and one on breakaway runs. And let's face facts, they don't pay either one of them. And they're not paying Hopkins.
Don't pay either one of them.
They have mastered what the Patriots did in building winners with guys that do jobs, specific jobs. Here's what we need you for. This is all we need you for. And this is what we're going to pay you. You're either in or not. And then guys want to win, so they're in. And I think that's what the best teams do that. And they do it really well. And that's why you're seeing Kansas City have a dynasty right now.
That's precisely it. In today's NFL, you have to be able to do that, especially when you start paying your quarterback $50, $60 million a year.
Steelers are getting into it, Mike. I think they're starting to do it. They're getting guys that can do jobs for low cost that are actually good. Now, I could be wrong about Williams because he has had success. He's had big catches. He has come up big a few times, and then he's had bad luck with the Jets. So could he be the guy in L.A., or is he going to be the guy in New York? If he's the guy in L.A., the Steelers might have a steal of the century.
And look, and part of the reason why the Steelers are able to keep all of their huge pieces on defense and pay them a lot of money is because they're not paying a quarterback $50 million a year.
Right.
The Steelers are not paying huge money to a quarterback. They haven't since Ben left. You know, even this other stuff that they've done, they haven't been expensive in the quarterback market. And that allows you to have Watt and Highsmith and Fitzpatrick and all these other guys making huge money on the other side of the ball. It's a trade-off, that's for sure. And we'll see if they could stick
they're
with
getting
Russ.
good at it. I think that this guy, Omar Khan, is getting good at it. He's getting good at doing what Belichick did and what they're doing in Kansas City.
Have to draft well. Joe Burrow, we'll say this for him. As a dog, which he is tomorrow night, as a dog, he has been very good. 16-3 against the spread of an underdog of 3 or more points. Of course, tomorrow night is much more than 3. It is 6.5, which is where that is sitting right now between the Bengals and the Ravens. And as I've told you a couple times, a very, very healthy total of 50. This is actually up from yesterday. It was 52.5 yesterday. 53.5 right now as we sit a day before the game.
Listen, you know where I'm going here. I'm going high-risk city. I'm taking Burrow, and I'm going with that trend. And I don't, as you know, get into trends, but I'm going into the fact that he is a really good quarterback, and he's really good as a dog, and he's close. He's very close. He had 5 tutties last week. I don't care who you're playing. 5 touchdown passes in a game. He is seeing it right now, and if he can get going in this game, Baltimore has shown weakness defensively, and then they've looked great at times. You don't know what they're going to roll out there. Obviously, the Ravens are great, and they're loaded, and they have all this talent, great running game, all the rest. Lamar Jackson, they're playing at home. It all points to the Ravens handling their business and winning. They kicked Denver's ass. But Cincinnati's got a shot here with 6.5. I like Burrow and the Bengals.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So, look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions. Once again, his third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orgy as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10.9 last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from 3.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Mike, I think it's a super rogue bet. I think it's dangerous. I think it's probably not going to hit, but it's, super risky. And, I will say this, that everything you think will happen never does in the NFL. So, I think that the Ravens should win that game and, get ready for the Steelers and they'll be lit up for the game in Pittsburgh. That's what it smells like to me, that it's automatic. So whatever you think is going to happen in the NFL, it never does. So I'm hoping never does comes through for me.
It's like, and I'm looking at some of the places now. I mean, it's kind of split.
We hit Tampa. In the over.
It's like 53% on Baltimore, 54% on, but it's kind of split, the betting for this game tomorrow night. So I think it's kind of wide open. I'm with you on Cincinnati, just for that Burrow trend and the fact that they need the game more. I don't think they'll win, but I don't think they're going to get blown out. They need the game more, and I think they'll keep it close on a Thursday night. Staying in the AFC North, of course, we have the Steelers, who are coming back off of a bye, and they will be on the road this week as they head to the dump to take on Washington, who's 7-2 and feeling good right now. We'll have Mike Tomlin here today. We always have him Friday, too, with our weekly words of wisdom. But here he is today, Scotty, giving you his thoughts, very impressive thoughts, on Washington rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels.
His prudent ability to maintain possession of the ball, to be a young guy, to extend
he
plays.
He always cares about ball
to
security,
do the things that
Mike.
come with extending plays. Oftentimes play extensions means more variance in terms of outcome of play, sometimes good, sometimes bad. He's been able to extract the good from those moments while minimizing the bad, and I just think that speaks to his savvy and his experience. And I say experience because, rookie quarterbacks come at you in a variety of forms, man. This guy has been a franchise quarterback for 2 different universities. He brings experience in the way that Bo Nix does. All rookie quarterbacks aren't the same. Some guys come with a lot of experience. Some guys come as guys with upside, man, and talent. And so I can't say that I'm completely shocked by some of the things he's done because he had an extended body of work in college at 2 different universities.
Look, there's no doubt that Daniels has been great, but let's calm down here. So the Steelers are 6-2. The Commanders are 7-2. The Steelers had a bye. So they're basically the same team. And the Steelers have every chance in the world to win this game if they get to him. Now, nobody's been able to get to him and do anything to him. And I don't think they've faced anything quite like what they're going to see on Sunday in terms of a pass rush. I think this guy, for the first time ever in his career, is going to be seeing something he hasn't seen. And remember this, Tomlin's 25-6? 25-6 against rookies. It don't matter where they play college football. He beats rookie quarterbacks. He will send the kitchen sink at this guy, and they're going to try to take his head off. That's how Pittsburgh used to play back in the day. I mean, let's just get real here, the steel curtain. You go in, you take the quarterback's head off, you win the game. If you scare the quarterback and you put him down a few times and rake him and hurt him and hit him hard and let him know what you're made of, it'll change the whole day. I think they have a legitimate shot to get to him and to beat them in the dump. I really do. The Steelers mean business. Now, I know everyone I've seen, I saw today, more people say Baltimore and the Lions in the Super Bowl, and then everything else was Kansas City and the Lions, nothing else. I think I legitimately, and you've done the show with me for a long time, you've never actually heard me say Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl again. Like, since you and I have done this for like 10 or more years, you've never heard me say they're going to the Super Bowl, because the last, 2 that I've won, we got 6. It was before you. And so I legitimately think Pittsburgh, with their team, if they get it together, they've already gotten the offense together. The defense has already been together. They're really good. If they're healthy and that Russell Wilson can spread that ball around and they can get Najee going $1 a game from now until January, I think the Steelers go to the Super Bowl from the AFC, and then they're going to knock somebody off, and you're not going to know what hit you. I mean, look, if you have a great defense and a great pass rush, you can beat anybody. You can beat anybody. And Kansas City went to Baltimore last year in the AFC title game, and they beat them with defense, 17-10. They beat them with defense. Defense wins championships. If Pittsburgh plays like they're capable of defensively, which they will, it's offense that I'm worried about. Can they score? And if they get the offense going with passing and rushing and score 30 a game, the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. And it's not going to be Baltimore. And it's not going to be Kansas City anymore. And everyone thinks Kansas City's so automatic. They're going down hard. They keep winning all these close games by an inch. And overtime, they get every coin flip and everything else. Guess what? They don't play those rules in the playoffs. Those get the ball first and go down and score. That's not happening, is it, Mike? Play to the death.
It doesn't.
Play to the death in the playoffs.
And even in the Super Bowl last year, where they didn't win the toss, the coach on the other side found a way to screw it up and give them the advantage anyway by taking the ball first. So it always is amazing.
I know. Look, Buffalo.
I don't think it's crazy.
Buffalo has a shot. Baltimore has a shot. Pittsburgh has a shot, and everyone thinks it's so automatic. Baltimore was automatic last year. They were favored to win that game in Baltimore, and they couldn't do anything because Kansas City had a defense.
I think that you have the 4 teams that have a legitimate shot to go out of the AFC. Defense plays in January, and the Steelers absolutely have that. I don't know if the show would be able to handle it for our sanity, but if it's Buffalo and Pittsburgh in the AFC title game, that would be an all-timer here, that's for sure. By the way, this was 3 yesterday. It's 2.5 today. So Washington goes from 3 to 2.5 since yesterday with a 45.5 total.
Yeah, thanks. I already got the 3. Thanks so much.
You got the 3. You're good to go. You got the 3.
I got 3.
We'll come back and we'll hear from Jim Harbaugh. Now, this was actually from the other day when he was in Cleveland, but it was too good. We had to go and bring it back here today. So we'll hear from Harbaugh when we come back.
All right.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So, look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions. Once again, his third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orgy as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10.9 last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from 3.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I want to always get as much Jim Harbaugh on the show as possible.
So this was from a couple days ago after they beat the Browns, but you sent it to me last night, and I thought it was pretty good, as he gets very emotional because he starts talking about how his parents were met in Cleveland, married in Cleveland, then the story of them getting married really gets off the rails, especially where they hit up for breakfast the morning after their wedding. Here is Jim Harbaugh.
November 25th, 1961, Jack and Jackie Harbaugh were married here in Cleveland. And the cool thing about it is their honeymoon, my dad took my mom to a Cleveland Browns game. So Jim Brown was out there playing, and they were playing the New York Giants. They stayed in a hotel, like downtown. I don't think they ever told us which one they stayed in the night of their wedding. But the funny part, they woke up, they went to White Castle for breakfast, and sat on the stools there, and then they walked to Old Cleveland Municipal Stadium for the game.
This guy, honestly,
Harbaugh's grabbing a sack of burgers at the Castle for breakfast before the Brown game the day after their wedding. Now that's an incredible story.
Speaking of that place, makes me have gas. Just right now, I'm getting gas.
Yeah,
that's and heartburn. But they were awesome. Like, who hasn't gone there in their life? Everyone's done it, right? And you just let's just face fact. You just pay
big 2 a.m. hit. Big 2 a.m. hit. After a night, yeah. The Castle, unbelievable place.
Remember across from the D and on Fremont Street.
Yes.
You get hammered and go in there 24/7.
And the busiest that place was at 4:00 in the morning.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because you'd be up there at 9 at night. I mean, there was a couple people in there. 4 a.m. line out the door. At the Castle there on Fremont, as always.
I like the Coney Island dog place better. I never got sick there, right? Like, so if I go across and eat a few of those sliders, you're just bound to the toilet for a day.
That might have been the last time I had it, was that time at the D there across the street with the 4 a.m. hit for that place. There you go, Jim Harbaugh. Micah Parsons expected to come back to practice on a limited basis today for the Cowboys. It's been weeks since he's played. Too bad for him. The season's already over. 3-5. The season will be over in a couple of weeks. Cooper Rush is going to start for the Cowboys this week at home against the Eagles. Here you go, the big Cooper Rush trends that everybody will throw at you this week. 5-1 straight up and 5-1 against the spread as the starting quarterback of the Cowboys when Dak's been out the last couple of years. So when Dak misses a game, you think Cowboys in trouble? Cooper to the rescue, Scotty. 7.5 with the Eagles at home, Jerry's World, 4:25 East on Sunday.
You know, one thing is we've seen over the last several weeks the favorites, what they've been doing against the spread. So all the talk of early on, all the dogs were covering anything over 5.5, and 7.5 was as sure as the sun coming up, right? Now, I don't have faith in any of that, and I also don't have faith in Cooper Rush, and I also don't care what he's done in the past. I got to be honest with you. I think this team is really average. I don't think they're terrible because they beat the Steelers like in Pittsburgh with 20 seconds to go. But I don't think they're good. I think they're average. And against the Eagles, who are really good right now, and we've had this conversation, the fans there are so stupid that they're complaining about this team that's winning by 20 and 30 every week. All they do is win, and they're playing great football. Saquon Barkley's been incredible. Hurts is looking incredible. Their defense is looking incredible. And yet all they talk about is how they want Nick Sirianni dead. And all I know is they keep winning. I think they go in there and kick the Cowboys' ass.
I think that they probably kick their ass as well. I like the way they're playing offensively right now, which is, I think, now they've had a couple of games where they don't cover and they've been a little spotty. Even last week against Jacksonville, I don't like how they let go of the rope a little bit. But I think they'll be all right down in Jerry's World this week, even to be able to cover that fat number. We'll come back.
Is A.J. Brown hurt again?
Yeah, but I have not seen if he's missing any time yet. We'll get some of those reports, I think, for the first time today, if he practices or not. But it seems like it's not something serious.
When he doesn't play. When they have Brown
different
and
offense
Smith out there, they look good.
He will be 2-7 against top 5 opponents in his 6 full seasons with the Buckeyes.
Now you're going to take on the road, one of the best rush defenses in the country in Penn State. You're already having trouble rushing the ball. So what does that mean, Ben? That means Ohio State is going to have to rely on Will Howard to throw the ball on the road.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.